Hello guys, my name is Robin and together with Edward we are Friendly Nexus Gamer. Some of you might not know, but there's actually two of us. Now you don't need two people to make these time lapses, but it does make it easier and more enjoyable to do. Now before I give you a detailed rundown of our process, let me tell you how we divided our workload. First, the two of us decide on the character and make the basic preparations for the time-lapse. Then I will start building while he records it, and he can then just do something on his own, but he stays in Skype call to make the 4 hours endurable. When the build is complete, he will do the first speed up of the time-lapse. This will help compress the video and make it easier to work with in the editing phase. I will then edit the video and upload it to YouTube, and he will then answer most of the comments and do the account management. So now for real, the process. Step 1. Choosing your character. If you're making a time-lapse just for fun, you might already know which character you want to time-lapse. But we actually do it from a list. The list contains our own suggestions as well as requests from the viewers. These requests obviously get priority, but because of complications in step 2, we sometimes postpone them. Once you've chosen your character, it's usually smart to do some research on them. This makes it easier in the following steps to actually do the build. Then step 2. Choosing the picture. For this you can draw your own image, take a screen cap of an episode, or just Google an image, it really doesn't matter. Apart from the fact that you must like the image, there are 3 other things that you must take in consideration. The color of the image must come from a very neutral environment, so taking a screen cap of a character standing in a cave is usually not a smart idea. You also must take into consideration how much space the face is taking up in the image. And the chosen image must not go out of screen too much. A little bit is manageable, but it will soon prove difficult if big spaces are not in your screen cap. Then step 3. Creating the template. Some of you seem to think that we make these builds just without any help. But that in fact is not true. While our feelings and creativity determine the end product, we do need a base to start with. We do in fact use Spritecraft as a base, but that's all it is, a base. After you first load in your image in Spritecraft, there are 3 steps you need to follow in order to get a decent end picture. First, you need to mess around a little bit with Spritecraft's options. Spritecraft has the tendency to stay too close to the original image. That makes it so that wrong blocks appear, wrong colors, that you need to get rid of. Some colors, however, cannot be removed as they are needed in the rest of the image, but mess up a different part. In that case you need to go to Paint or print it out and make some notes for yourself where you can see which blocks you want and do not want to keep. At this point we're still talking about a rough edit, so colors, not specific types of blocks. However, at this point I usually already decide which blocks I want to use for the face, since the nose and mouth aren't usually done right by Spritecraft, but I already know how I want to do them. The final step of the editing won't actually take place in the editing itself. You'll do this while you're building, because only then can you decide on which blocks you actually want to use for the details. Step 4. Building. The start of your build you'd want to do in one of the corners, preferably one you've edited the least, because you want to build up a feeling of how the picture is put together. Even for the parts you did not plan on changing, it's usually a good idea to stand back every once in a while and see if you're happy with what you've done so far. If at any point during the build you think you have an idea of how to do it differently, then by all means try it out. If you've just started making time lapses, the first few times you try this may not work out. But if you don't at least try it, it'll never work out. Now for the details you've decided to change yourself, it's best just to go with your feeling, your intuition, anything like that. It's a process that's up to your own creativity and can't really be explained. But just to help you on the way, try not to use a single color, switch it around a little bit. And the easiest one that also brings forth the most success, look at other places in the image. Usually if you have to make it once, you'll have to make it another time somewhere else in the build. A lot of the time you can actually continue the existing pattern but just change the colors. Changes don't always have to be big. Sometimes a single block can do the trick. While at other times, changing 100 blocks will only make a small difference. Then, adding missing parts onto your build. As long as only a small part of the picture is actually missing, you can usually make up for it by continuing the pattern that's already in the frame. How big the missing part may be is dependent on how much experience you have and the difficulty of the build. So this is something that you should have considered during the editing phase. And that's about everything we consider while building a time-lapse. And then comes step 5, editing the video. Now every YouTuber has their own style, so I'll just show you my style and then you can choose whatever you want to do for yourself. Now I usually just open up my previous video file of the previous time-lapse, and then I just change the title screen and from then on replace every media file with the new ones I just made. Now before I replace all the media files, I speed up the video that we've just made. Now when I get it from Edward, it's already sped up 4 times, so it doesn't take as much drive space on my hard disk. And then I start working with it. I usually choose between 2 and 4 minutes as end result. This comes closer to 2 minutes now that I've made a few more, and it just seems to look even smoother, but it's a bit up to your own choice how much you want to. Just don't make it too slow, because too long a video will not make a good end result. Firstly, I just speed up the previous video a whole bunch so that I can replace the old thumbnail. Next, I replace the audio file with the new song I elected for this time-lapse and make sure that it ends right before the final transaction of the video begins. Then I replace the old screen cap that shows the result of the build. Then I put in all the transactions and check all the ones that are already in there. For the audio files I usually use 3 seconds, and for all the video files I use 1 second of transaction time. Then comes a 2-step rendering process, one to complete the project file and one to actually export the video file. And then you're ready, you've got the audio file, so it's up to step 6, uploading the video to YouTube. Now I'm not going to tell you what to put in your description or what to put as your video title, so I'm going to end it here. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please tell so in the comments. Also, if you didn't find it useful, or if you have any comments whatsoever, any criticism whatsoever, please put that in the comments. I'm very curious to see if this actually helped. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.